We depict this as a cycle, as a circular thing, because as I mentioned earlier, you could start your journey anywhere, but then these pieces are something that you need to have, right? One is defining and managing your policies. You need to have a way wherein you define what governance policies you have on the data and manage these policies, because governance policies are not created in a silo. You need to work with various business stakeholders, legal stakeholders within an organization for defining what a policy is. It could be, for example, a GDPR policy. If a specific sets of data are classified as GDPR, how do you manage that? How do you collect the data? How do you store the data? How do you transmit the data? What happens? When does the life? How do you create retention policies on the data? Who can access the data? Who and how do you create end of life actions of the data? Do you purge data? Do you report on the purge data? So all those are policies that needs to be defined uh, um, as a function. And this function, and once a policy has been defined, these policies keep changing. You'll have to manage the life cycle of a policy too, because as regulations change, the way you define policies that manage uh, collection and usage of data within an organization will also change. And so you will have to have ways in which you're managing these policies. And that's abstract, right? You have created policies, you have documented policies, and you're storing it somewhere and managing it. But once you've done that, you will also, as an organization, you will have to discover where all your data is. What kind of data are you having within your organization? Where are you having this data? For example, where is credit card information of customers? What is customer information? What do you call a customer? What are the sets of information you have about customers? And what are all the different sources in which you have this data about your customers? And it's not only enough that you discover data, that you have that this is credit card information. You should also be able to classify the data. The data classification here is identifying that a specific set of data is, say, an address or a phone number is not good enough. You'll have to be able to classify this data and say, hey, this sets of data constitute my personally identifiable data. So I would say that my PII data within my organization consists of a set of these 7 or 8 data elements. These data elements could be my first name, last names, the addresses, telephone numbers, email IDs, bank account numbers, customer IDs, whatever, right? So you could that's where your data steward will come in and define what is a PII policy for you, but then you'll have to classify data as per these policies. You should say that you should be able to discover and say these are all the different resources. These are the various systems where I have PII data in my organization, right? And once you have classified them as PII, or it could be even based on various policies, right? It could be a GDPR policy, it could be a India privacy law, it could be a Turkish privacy law, or whatever be the various regulations that you're working with an organization. Once you have done that, the next step will be you should be able to map the identities to data. This is a critical piece because of the various regulatory compliance that you have to go through. What does mapping identities to data mean? Mapping identities to data mean it is not enough that you have identified a specific data element as credit card information. You should also know that this particular credit card information belongs to a user, to a physical identity of a user. I should know that my customer's data, I have a customer, Rob, and this Rob's credit card information is available in this particular data store. That's important because once you have mapped these identities, now you know that this is the identity of this particular data, which is associated to a given person, a customer. Then it will help you automate your end stream processes. For example, if there is a request for information from Rob, Rob, to extend the example that I talked about a minute ago, right? So it's now I can create automation in such a way that I know that Rob's information is available in these 5 systems, and if Rob is requesting me for information on the data that this organization, my organization has about him, or he's requesting for removing his data from my system because of he has a right to be forgotten, then as an enterprise I should be able to automate this process so that once a request comes in through say through my external facing website or through an email, I should automate the process of collating information about Rob and providing that information to him, or even if I have to take action on that data, like maybe right to be forgotten is what Rob has requested, or Rob has requested for a right for rectification of the data, I should be able to do that. And for that, mapping identities is important. Now we have discovered data, we have classified data, we have mapped identities. The next big piece is analyzing the risk associated to data. Now you should have capabilities within your organization where you can analyze the risks that you have, because now you know that you have these are the places where you have data about users. These are the places where you have sensitive data, and this is the amount of sensitive data you have across your organization. You should be able to understand the comparative risks that you hold about with the amount of data, private data that you're holding, and plan some mitigation actions on it. A mitigation plan could be right restricting access to data which is highly sensitive, restricting access to data that is unclear for a certain set of users in a given geography, say, for example. For example, maybe there is a rule in India that says that I should not be able to look at um, data in clear about customers in Germany, right? So there could be all such privacy and security rules that could be in place. And so you should be able to create protection plans. You could be able to create those mitigation plans. Or if there is, for example, what are the mitigation plans if there is a data breach, right? Being able to analyze the risk associated to the data that you are holding in an organization and create various mitigation plans to protect that data is something that you should be able to do. And once you have created a protection plan, once you have analyzed the risks and created various protection plans, uh, the your operational tools should be able to orchestrate these actions, should be able to define what needs to be done to the data and do the actual work. So it could be right. You've identified that there is a set of 15 systems where there is PII data, and you want to anonymize that data, for example, before the data is being consumed by downstream systems. So you should be able to orchestrate such anonymization actions. You should be able to orchestrate, say, um, do access management. Maybe you have a way in which you want to dynamically mask data during access for certain set of users. So you should be able to orchestrate and take those corrective actions and bring back information about those corrective actions that you have taken about the data. And once you have done that, you should be able to measure, you should be able to communicate, you should be able to do privacy audits and measure the kind of impact that you have had based on your privacy governance framework that you have within an organization. And this is where Informatica comes in. Informatica provides a single data intelligence solution that provides value to all kinds of stakeholders within your organization. Your stakeholders could be your IT teams, could be the chief privacy officer or the data privacy office, could be the CDO's office, or analysts who are actually working on the various business processes within an organization. The data could be stored and could come in from various systems. You could have various IT systems. Those are transactional systems wherein data is getting collected on a daily basis. You could be moving those data to a data warehouse, which could form your source of reporting and analytics, or data could be in data lakes on which you are building various applications, various business-oriented applications on the data that you have collated. Right. Now, Informatica provides you with an integrated intelligent platform, which does risk assessments, which does privacy compliance, which does governance policy management, and also adds quality to it, so that as a as a solution, you get to do everything that you want about data. And this data is not in silo. We provide an integrated metadata platform. And this integrated metadata platform is actually collecting information from various kinds of sources. It could be your SQL sources, it could be cloud sources, it could be unstructured sources that you have scattered all across the organization. So Informatica provides you with an integrated, intelligent data metadata platform and a data catalog, which you can leverage for all the other activities that you are doing within an organization. You could, and along with this metadata, as you bring in the business context, you will be able to do your governance around this data. You will be able to do privacy compliance around this data. You will be able to identify risk, mitigate risk across this data. And once you have these in place, you make it easier now for what we call as data democratization, because now once you have had intelligence about this data and you're creating controls and executing on these controls, you make the data available in a data marketplace. You make the data which is available on demand for consumers of data. The consumers of data could be your data analysts, could be your AI tools, which needs ML algorithms, and that those ML algorithms need to be trained with your actual data within an organization. So now you have all this data available for consumption, for your operational teams, for your analytical teams, for your various line of business teams. And all this is powered by our AI and ML engine, which is Claire. Claire brings in the metadata context. Claire brings in the metadata understanding, and using this metadata understanding, we power all the various solutions around this. And this is one singular platform, one singular intelligent metadata platform that actually powers solutions. So you could, as I mentioned earlier, you could start your journey with one of those various diamonds. You could start your journey from a privacy perspective. You could start your journey from a quality perspective. You could start your journey from a risk mitigation perspective. But as you're creating this, what you are eventually doing is creating an intelligent metadata platform for your enterprise based on Informatica's Claire methodology that is adding value across various stakeholders. Thank you. My name is Ramesh Swaminathan. If you need more information about me, please write to us at Informatica, and we should be able to help you answering some of these questions. Thank you.